Have you ever been creatively stuck? I mean, a moment where you are staring at a blank page and wondering, what am I going to write next? Or maybe it was a piece of canvas and you were trying to paint an image and just had no idea where to start. Well, that has been my journey over the last week and a half. I came off of those trips out to Saskatoon and out to Ontario, and I have been wrestling to find something to vlog about. And then it suddenly dawned on me that I could actually do a vlog about not being able to vlog. At the same time, I wanted to draw you a little bit into my journey to answer that question. What do you do when you are creatively stuck? You see, I'm convinced that when we get into creative block, we get ourselves into a cycle of non-activity. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, sometimes with creative block, we convince ourselves that we can't create anything new or profound, and so we just get into the cycle of non-activity. We don't want to do anything because we're not inspired by anything or something's not clicking, and so we just refuse to do anything at all. And sometimes that leads to procrastination, or we sit around, or whatever the case is. But if we commit to doing something, even if we don't feel the creative impulse, creativity will come out of that process. So these last few weeks, I have been spinning my tires trying to think about what to vlog about. And I convinced myself that there was nothing worth talking about when it came to my life. I would get up and I would go to work and do my business, come home, sleep, get up, do the whole thing again. And it was this repetition, this monotony that made me think that there was nothing worth talking about. There was nothing worth exploring. And so I got myself trapped into this non-activity. I didn't put out any kind of vlog or any kind of sort of day-to-day video on my experience. And sometimes that's natural. After spending a couple weeks getting on airplanes, going to different locations, your life can start to seem a little mundane. And that kind of perspective seeps into the creative process. I began to really believe that my life was just monotonous. And because I thought that my life was monotonous, I felt like, well, it's not really worth talking about. It's not really worth filming anything about. Now, granted, the weather has been just absolutely the pits outside in Newfoundland and Labrador for the last 2 weeks. We still have snow and it's the middle of April. But all of these things sort of contributed to this viewpoint that I couldn't be creative, even if I had wanted to. And so I had to find some remedy to this situation. What was I going to do? I couldn't just not film and spend the next 4 weeks waiting for summer to hit or some new exciting thing to hit before I would actually pick up a camera again. I had to have a different mentality when it came to the creative process. Then I began to think about this old adage. If you have nothing to write about, then write about the fact that you've got nothing to write about. Now, that doesn't mean you just go on and you create some dribble. But I think the idea is that you're not going to kind of access that creativity until you try. And sometimes, yes, creativity comes from the ether, out of nowhere. Maybe you're writing a song, or you're writing a piece of poetry, or you're painting, or something comes to mind that suddenly feels like it's not you, that has come from some other place. But that's not always the case. Probably 9 times out of 10, you have to kind of muck around in the mud of creativity to sort of find your way through. And so as much as I could sit here and belabor the fact that I couldn't come up with a vlog, I couldn't produce the good weather outside, or I couldn't produce the big trip somewhere, I had to start thinking about, well, maybe I just need to start something and see where it goes. And so a lot of this video today just kind of comes from that point of view. I just had to start something and see where it takes me. Creativity is a process, and it's never going to take just one day to do something. You have to work at it. It's like a muscle that needs to be exercised. And if all you do is just give in to the fact that, well, I just can't do anything, I can't create anything, I'm stuck in a rut, whatever the case is, you're never going to be able to push yourself beyond those very occasional moments of what some might call divine inspiration. You see, when we work at creativity. We are actually working at the process of self-discovery. And I think a lot of times we don't want to do that hard work of self-discovery, of pushing ourselves through the hard part of trying to communicate our innermost self to other people. Yes, sometimes, again, things might drop in our minds or our hearts and we create something like that. But those points of time are very rare. More often than not, the work of communicating ourselves to other people through the creative process, or our ideas through the creative process, is a lifelong journey. So don't get trapped in this self-imposed prison of non-activity when it comes to the creative process. Just scribble anything on that piece of paper. Film anything on a camera. Start with a simple idea or concept and see where it takes you. This whole video would not be here if I had not decided to push myself through that cycle of inactivity in my life. Hope that helps.